Hi, Josh.
Hey, how's it going, Josh? Looks like Scott may be on as well. So welcome, guys.
Hi, Scott.
Welcome, guys. We're really excited about this one. We had a really fun trip. So excited to kind of talk about it. Just kind of go over, kind of the details of the trip. Some of you guys may have already watched the videos. So if so, you at least know a little bit about the trip. But yeah, it was a really fun time. Really fun time. Hey, Matt. How's it going, man? Welcome. All right. So, ready?
I mean, I guess so.
Let's officially kick it off. Tonight, we're going to be talking about our Tennessee trip. So, we camped. So, we got to camp in the summer heat. Camping in a tent. So, we camped and hit a river and hit an awesome creek. And I see Chris from Mid Tennessee Angling in here, which he was our guide on the trip. So he knows more about the trip than what some others may know. But yeah, it was so much fun. So we're gonna go ahead and kind of go over the details of the trip. I kind of figured we would kind of give a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly of the trip, because there was a lot of fun and then some rough parts of it too.
Yeah, because we didn't take pictures of a lot of the things, like at the campsite and stuff like that. And there was definitely some adventures.
Yeah. It would have been nice. I definitely want to make sure when we go on another trip like this that we get a lot more pictures. That's something that even going back and
look, Sam's on.
Even going back and looking at some of the other stuff, we definitely should have got more pictures, and we got a lot, but we did not get enough. My cousin Sam, he was actually on the trip with us, and he does not fish, but he toughed it out through our different paddling adventures without a problem. And he was just in a paddle kayak. He was in the vibe. And he said the ugliest part was the soggy sandwiches, which he actually did not eat a soggy sandwich, but there is an inside joke there about him not liking soggy bread. So we made lots and lots of comments about soggy bread on the river. I even threatened to take my sandwich and dip it in the water. It was a little intense. I think I made him sick just by talking about it.
It was so much fun, though. We laughed the entire time. The only time we didn't laugh was when we were trying to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm actually just about to get into that. So started out, I wanted to say that we camped at Center Hill Lake. The campground was called Floating Mill, I think.
Something like that.
Floating Mill Park, I'm pretty positive. And it was a nice campground. Yep. I will not say that I'm a huge fan of the way their like sites are set up. We were set up on the side of a hill, and it was not fun. Even with my truck and my little trailer, it was not fun getting into the sites. And I know some other people were actually camped on sites that they had to park down a hill and walk up all their gear to set up and everything. So I know that would have been tough. There was like the little driveways to the campsites. When I would be turning out of them, I would almost always drop off just because they were washed out. And one of my buddies was like, the end of his driveway of that campsite was really washed out. So the campsites were decent, but I wasn't a big fan at how they were set up. It was a beautiful park, and the lake is really beautiful. We walked down to the lake and fished it from the bank a little bit that first day. We didn't get to spend much time fishing it, so can't really talk much on that. But it's a beautiful lake, like very beautiful. Our buddy Philip, he actually got the drone out and got some really good footage of the lake, and it was neat seeing that perspective of it. And then we drove over like an outlook while we were driving around, and we actually got out and took pictures. And yeah, it was beautiful. It's very big, and it's obviously set up pretty different from lakes that we've seen, and it gets super, super deep. But yeah, it's a very beautiful lake.
Yep.
Camping was fun and brutal. So while we were outside of the tent and we were just hanging out with friends, talking, eating steak tacos, Hunter from Honey's Hideout made steak tacos. They were excellent. And while we were out hanging out and talking, it was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
At nighttime, when it came time to get in the tent, oh, it was so brutal.
I blame him. I'm just gonna put it out there. I blame him for that.
All right. So I'll tell about that. I made a mistake. So I really thought it was a good idea to get a smaller tent. And I still think it was a good idea to get a smaller tent. But I think we went a little bit too small. I don't know that we would have had room in our site to set up our tent. Yeah, when you think about the size of it.
It wasn't any bigger than Philip's.
Yeah, but he didn't have everything that we had. Multiple tents. And so anyway, the tent was too small. We had 2 cots in our tent. And
that I didn't know if they were going to fit in there.
They barely fit.
We probably should have took them out and just put pads down.
We should have just slept on the pads for sure. So I did not fit on the cot. When it came up to being on top of the cot, I had the tent on me on the side, on me at the feet, and on me out on my head. Like my head was up against the tent the whole night. It was miserable. I actually, at one point, felt like I was suffocating. And in the middle of the night, in the middle of the night, I got up and went to my truck and rolled down the windows and slept in my truck all night long. And it was horrible sleep, but it was better than being in the tent.
That's right. Trevor says that he takes an air mattress when he goes camping. So we have cots, really nice ones. Like there's nothing uncomfortable about that. It was the fact that they would not fit into the tent properly so that we could actually sleep. The tent was basically on top of us. So I actually I'm not a huge fan of air mattresses because of the sinking in. If we did that, we'd have to do 2 separate ones because I don't like the feeling every moment and like sinking in. But there's nothing wrong with our cots. So we just totally downsized too much. So we learned a lesson the hard way there.
Got a little too small.
Forgot our fan. Bought one, it broke.
And the worst thing is it broke like at 10:30 at night.
Yep.
And we were not able to go get another fan. So it broke right as we were getting ready for bed the second night. And so the next night after fishing all day, we drove to Walmart and picked up a fan so we had another fan.
Yep. But that was just the funny side of it. Really, it wasn't that big of a deal. We didn't sleep much, but the rest of the trip was amazing.
Yeah, we missed out on a ton of sleep, but oh man, overall it was so worth it in the end. And there was no sleeping in. We were up early every single day, whether we really wanted to be or not. Yeah. So,
which I knew there would be, like with the just natural sunlight being out at a campsite. I feel like I always get up a little earlier than, well, not that much earlier, but just a little bit earlier than normal. So
yeah. So anything else on the campsite that you want to talk on?
I don't think so. Like it was super fun. I loved getting to hang out with everyone we were with there when we were eating and stuff like that. I hated that we missed it on Saturday and didn't really get to see it Sunday, but it was still so much fun just hanging out with them and being all together. Definitely want to do it again sometime.
Yeah, we'll get into our Saturday. So we stayed Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So Sunday was the day that we didn't get to hang out with people. Saturday we did.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we'll kind of get into breaking down each day. So Friday we got there and set up. Like I said, that was our camp adventure setup. Saturday we got up and we floated the Caney Fork River,
which was my first time on a river ever.
Yeah, she had never been on moving water.
At least as far as I know, I don't ever remember going on moving water, and I don't think I ever have been. So.
Yeah. So we got out and we floated that river. We floated from Betty's Island to Stonewall Ramp. So it was a beautiful area. The water was cold. It was very clear. I know it was not as clear as it normally is because they have had a ton of rain, but it was still very clear water. And it was so cold, and with the sun beating down, like it was perfect.
Oh yeah.
You would be going along and just be able to stick your feet in that water, and it would kind of help regulate your temperatures, cool you down a little bit. And it was hot Saturday.
It was hot.
Definitely. Sun was shining pretty much all day Saturday.
I was going to say the water kind of spoiled me because we went back out on our lake Saturday, I think it was. And I like went to stick my feet in and I was like, this sucks.
Yeah,
I want that cold water back.
Back on the lake.
It was pretty amazing.
With that sun, cool. It was definitely
it was like 90-degree water.
Very hot water that we were fishing in. So yeah, the cold water was amazing. Yeah. Again, beautiful scenery. We got to see a lot of nature. We saw multiple eagles.
Yep.
We saw I know I saw multiple otters. I don't know.
I only saw one.
So I saw one. Literally, we barely got started and saw an otter. And then getting close to the end of the trip, I ended up seeing another one. So that was really cool. Really enjoyed that. And yeah, it was so much fun. It was beautiful. We floated that. So I think I looked it up and we were like right at about 7 miles that we floated on the Caney Fork River. So really just a smooth flow. Like we didn't have any rapids or anything like that. It was just a good smooth flow. The water is coming out of the Center Hill Dam, and they weren't running any generators on the time that we were on the water. So the water wasn't coming out too bad. I know when they start opening up generators, it can get pretty serious out there. Raise the river pretty substantially, but we didn't see anything like that. It was a pretty chill paddle that day. You know, I mean, really most of that trip, we wouldn't have even had to pull our drives up. We could have had our pedal drives up or down in the water almost the entire trip on that.
Yeah, I was actually
that river.
Trying to slow down some because I kept getting way ahead of everybody catching the flow. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I did not catch any fish that day, though. Did not. Yeah. I think it was a mixture of not really knowing what I was doing on the river, like learning how to, hey, bearded dad, good to see you on.
Hey, how's it going, Jay?
Being on the river versus being on the lake and trying to fish it was a lot different for me because, you know, you're constantly moving. And I don't know, like some of the things I was trying, I was like, well, this doesn't make any sense on the river. So it's like basically the same concept, but it's just a lot different when you're putting it into action. So
it definitely takes getting used to, which I mean, and we know what it's like fishing in the wind and kind of blowing around.
Yeah,
but you can kind of get back to that location and still kind of fish it.
Yeah.
You know, versus this, you're moving the whole time. And obviously you can pedal back up the river and you know, do that. But we just kind of floated as we went and fished as we went. We were probably about halfway in when I landed a trout and landed on my 12 Oaks custom crankbait. Surprise, surprise.
Everyone be like, what'd you catch that fish on?
Yeah,
crankbait.
Yeah.
What'd you catch that
the whole
fish
weekend,
on?
everyone would
Crankbait.
ask what I was catching them on. Almost every fish I caught this weekend turned out to be on a crankbait. And I'll give some more details in what all I caught. But started out, like I said, probably about the halfway point, hit that trout. And it was just a small one, but it was still pretty cool catching a trout on a crankbait. And sadly, I didn't get that in the video. So my GoPro had overheated. And so I didn't get that. And we'll talk on that too. I didn't get that on video, but I got the tail end of me pulling it out of the water on video. But it was a beautiful, crankbait, no joke. Yeah, so it was a beautiful little trout, and it was cool seeing it come up and hit the crankbait. So we went a little bit further and actually went up the creek that fed into the river for just a little while. I mean, we probably didn't even go a mile up the creek. It wasn't very far, and went up there and hit a spot where there's some pretty little shoals, and we walked up on those and kind of looked at the water cascading over them. And while we were walking to it, we had to walk in some pretty deep flowing water to get to it. And while we were walking to it, I stopped and I was like, look at that area. And it was flowing fast. I was look at that area over at the bank. I said, I'm going to make a cast over there. I feel like it's like a perfect spot because there was a little eddy and you could see the water kind of swirling back on itself. So right after that fast moving current, I was like, that's where I caught fish when I was on the Current River last year, fishing a river. I was like, smallmouth are going to be right up against that real fast moving current in that dead water. And I cast in there, made one cast, reeled it back in, made a second cast, and had a smallmouth hit it. It was probably 13, 14 inches, nothing big, but still a fun fight. And it was right in that heavy current, so it was fighting hard. So I was like, look, I just caught one. We went and kind of walked around for a little bit, threw some more casts up above that little shoal, and I had a fish follow up there. I think I've even got it on the video where Sam says, hey, you just had one following, but I didn't get any bites up there. And then we just made our way back down, fished it a little bit more. Kayla didn't get any bites.
No, but I did have one fish follow me at one point, and like the more and more I think about it, like I am dead set that it was definitely a trout, and I'm dead set that was actually a pretty good sized one. Maybe it's just growing in my dreams because I didn't catch it, but like I can continually see it in its big old gills coming after my bait. So I don't know, it's gonna haunt me for the rest of my life, I think.
Yeah. Wait, I got to take her somewhere and get her on a trout so she can say it happened.
No, like I wasn't my goal to catch. Like obviously that's what was in the river, so I was gonna be fine catching it. But like I can just see it, and I'm like, man, that was actually probably a really good sized trout, and I missed it. But so it's just kind of one of those things that you kind of think about when you get back off the water, and you're like, man.
So yeah, so that fish I caught while we were wading, and we did do a little bit of wade fishing, but mostly it was all from the kayak. I see Mama Gone Fishing said she pulled out a crankbait today, which she hardly ever does, and got a 20-incher.
That's amazing.
And she thought of me when she decided to use it. Yeah, I can't help it.
Chase loves his crankbait.
I love my crankbaits.
Yeah.
They catch so many fish for me, and I'll run them in the grass and everything else. I threw one for a little bit yesterday morning too. So crankbaits are it's my favorite, and I haven't got to fish them as much this year as what I like, because the grass has been so thick around here. So when I was going to the river, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be throwing the crankbait, especially a river with a rock bottom. Like, oh man, if you throw crankbaits, you understand what rock bottoms are. Like you hit that rock and it's just bouncing around, and it just triggers those reaction bites. So I was really excited to throw a crankbait. Yeah, so we made our way out of the creek. And really right at the mouth of the creek, I was casting it was like right at a little bridge that fed out of the creek, or that was, the creek went under. And right at the mouth, as it was joining the caney, I had another fish hit. And it was my third species of the day. And again, all on the crankbait. And it ended up being a little walleye. I'm going to guess probably 11, 12 inches. Again, if you guys have watched the video, you've seen it. And it was fun. It was a fun little fight, and it was cool catching 3 species on that day. Then we had one, which I know Chris ended up catching a trout, and then one of our buddies, Philip, he caught a trout and then caught a walleye also, and he caught a pretty decent one. I think he said it was just like an inch under what it had to be to keep it. Yeah, so we had a fun time. I will say the Caney Fork River, and I know Chris mentioned earlier, he brought us on that river more to see the scenery, not necessarily for the fishing, but I still enjoyed the fishing on it. But it can definitely draw a crowd. We didn't have a huge issue with like float groups the whole time we were on the river. We seen them going by a couple times. We passed some passed us, but not like an issue where when I was on the current river last year, there were times that we were casting right under boats and float groups were going by. But yeah, it wasn't anything serious on the Caney Fork, but at the ramp at the end of the day, that was brutal.
Loadout was crazy. That's the weird thing to me about rivers is like once you're on there, like you are on there until you're not. Like there's that's so weird because like you just go back to the ramps. That was weird. I know most of y'all know that, but it was just kind of crazy because we got there and all the float trips were unloading.
Yes.
Float people, I swear, I didn't even see.
Yes.
Were unloading on that ramp, and I was like, "Where did you come from?"
There were a lot of people pulling up to the ramp around the same time while we were loading, which we of course shuttled. So we had to get some of the people back to get the other trucks and get them to the unload site. So it was pretty rough getting all the kayaks out around all the float groups that were pulling in. I mean, they had multiple little buses full of trailers of
it was pure
kayak
craziness.
trailers. And it was nuts. It took way longer to unload to load back up than anything else. But again, it was still a fun trip, and it was worth it. You know, that's really the only negative I had about it. And I guess I'll throw in, Chris said,
I wasn't going to say anything. I wasn't going to tell on you.
So the only negatives were really that takeout at the end, and then the sun overheating the GoPros. Kayla got almost no footage at all on Saturday, but again, the sun was beating down. Right? The sun was beating down, and it was frying.
Every time I turn it on, it would go ahead and beep right back off. And I was like, hey, whatever.
So that was tough, but overall, again, it was a pretty awesome trip. I mean, that little river was beautiful. And Sean, I see you're asking about big smallies. So next, dude, you know I don't weigh them unless I have to. I'm gonna say that one I caught was probably 1.5 pounds, something like that. So not bad by any means.
I didn't catch any.
It was my PB smallie.
Big ones. I caught some ones that I thought were nice, but I've never really fished for smallies before either. So
that was our Saturday adventure. Then, like I said, we got back to the they fight very hard. Yeah, we got back to the campsite, and Hunter from Honey's Hideout cooked us steak tacos, and
Chase ate 5.
Yeah, I probably did. I probably ate more than that, honestly. I probably ate 5 tacos and then a plate full of steak at one point. It was he makes really good steak tacos. If you happen to go to a campsite that he's set up at, you're going to get some good steak tacos. So yeah, enjoyed those. And, or was that Saturday? No,
that was Friday night.
Oh yeah. Saturday I ate leftovers actually. So I did eat steak tacos. So we ate steak tacos Friday night.
Oh, and then, we did. That's right.
Ate them Saturday night also. Because he made I don't know, it was like 20 pounds of steak. It was crazy. He had the whole Blackstone full of steak multiple times. So
yeah, we actually went home and ate them Saturday night.
Yeah, so we ate steak tacos Friday night and Saturday night. The only thing that we kind of wish that we would have done was went to a restaurant Saturday night to get in some AC. Yep. But ultimately, eating at the camp was still good. No complaints about that. Sunday, we get up and we kind of leave the rest of the group. They go fish the lake, and me, Kayla, and Sam go with Chris, again from Mid-Tennessee Angling, to a secret smallmouth creek. Don't tell anyone. So yeah, if you guys get a chance, definitely check out the video that posted today. It was such a fun time.
It was beautiful.
I heard about this creek from a couple people and was excited to get on it. And Chris was like, hey, this is where we're going to get in some smallmouth. And we actually stopped at a kayak shop. And yeah, he said 10-mile grueling trip. We stopped at a kayak shop and talked to them. And, they asked what we had done that day. We told them the Caney Fork, and then said what creek we were hitting the next day. And they said, oh, so you're going out to catch smallmouth. So we were like, yeah, that's the goal. So one of the big goals for this trip for us was getting Kayla her first smallmouth.
Everybody knows we're getting ready to go to the Kayak Adventure Series, where we are going to be catching smallmouth, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, if we're not, we're in some serious trouble in the tournament.
But I wanted to get my hands on them beforehand, and so it seemed like the perfect opportunity too. So I was excited to go out Saturday. I was pumped. So.
Yeah. So we were super
Sunday.
Yeah, we were super excited. We got up fairly early, and we headed to the creek where we were going to be launching at, and met Chris there.
Mm-hmm.
And well, we actually followed him. We met him and followed him to the creek, got out there and got to the launch site, and the launch site looked rough. So it was big chunk rock, and going down, it was big chunk rock, and going down to the creek was pretty tough. Not terrible, because it wasn't at the end of the day. The launch and the takeout change because
and drink some first warm.
The beginning of the day and the end of the day make a world of difference when you're talking about kayak launching and kayak taking out. But overall, it was not fun. It was super rocky and uneven. So me, Sam, and Chris did a lot of the loading the kayaks in and got them down there, got all the kayaks set up. Then we drove my truck to the takeout spot and got my truck to the takeout spot and then drove back to the drop off. And we got in, started floating. So like Kayla said, she had never floated moving water. She hadn't ever been through any rapids. And it was very minor at the very beginning, but we literally started off and had a little bitty rapid. So, she got to go through a rapid right away. And it was like one rapid, then a very like small spot that wasn't, and then another spot that had rapids. And you kind of had to navigate around trees. So Kayla, and I don't remember if I have this in the video, but she kind of swings around and goes through the tree. And, you can tell she's nervous about her rod sticking up and getting in the trees. So, but yeah, so it was very minor rapids. We fished for maybe 15 minutes. And like I said, not far into the day at all. And I hooked up. And Kayla shortly after that had a pretty big bite. But I hooked up, and it was a rock bass, which was species 4 of the trip. So I caught that rock bass on, can you guess it, a crankbait. And it was mostly what I threw was the 12 Oaks Custom BFS Griffin, and I threw it in the chartreuse with a black back. So I threw that almost the whole time. And I did switch it up and end up picking up some, or throwing some that were in like a red pattern, because we did see, we saw a craw at the Caney Fork River when we put in, and it had that kind of brownish orange, maybe like a rusty orange color. So I was like, well, a red crankbait will do good in here also, which Kayla had a red crankbait as well. BFS stands for Bait Finesse System, and it is essentially a bait caster that is finesse style. So I'm throwing an ultralight bait caster.
It's his favorite thing in the world.
It is so much fun. I've always liked ultralight fishing. So when I started throwing bait casters, I was like, oh, they make a bait caster that goes down to ultralight like that. You can't beat that, because you get that precision casting that you get out of bait caster, and then you still have that ultralight fight. They have a clicking drag. So yeah, I mean, I can't say it's really a new thing. It's been around for a long time in Japan. So it's newer to the US, not as popular. So it's probably been around, 5+ years in the US, but is slowly taking off more and more. Yeah, I love it. Like, I have so much fun with it. I'm running which, you guys know, I fish with yak rods. So all of my rods are yak rods. So I have the Yak Rods BFS rod, and I run a Kastking Kestrel on the reel, and it's a sweet reel. It'll cast down to like 1/32 of an ounce. So, I mean, you can get super, super light. So I run 10-pound test braid, but when I run mono, I'll run like 4 to 6. So yeah, 10-pound test braid, because the diameter of the braid is just small enough that it works. It casts really well on there. But I really like running braid on it. I ran mono on it for years, mono and ran some small fluoro on it too. But I ran mono on it mostly. But after I put braid on it the first time, I'm like, yeah, braid is definitely my favorite way to throw it. It casts so smooth. Oh yeah, I could definitely use it for steelhead. I used it for trout a little bit when I went to Missouri last year, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, we floated down a little bit further. Like I said, Kayla ended up having one. She was throwing mostly she threw a 12 Oaks Custom Whopper Plopper, the flat-sided ones. So, if you don't throw those, check them out. If you like throwing a Whopper Plopper, these are like the best. They don't cause line twists, and like, you don't have to worry about putting a swivel on them. I know you can throw a swivel on a Whopper Plopper and you don't get as much line twist, But I can tell you, even with a swivel, you'll still get line twists. With these, you don't get line twists because they don't spin. Like the whole lure doesn't spin. It's just that tail, just the plopper part that's spinning. So she had a big blow up on her whopper plopper, really not far into the trip at all. And it missed. She threw back over a couple times and didn't get it to trigger again. It wasn't very far, much longer at all. And she got another blow up. And I caught a few, we caught a lot of fish that are not on film. My GoPro overheated a little bit on day 2. Her GoPro overheated a little bit on day 2 also. Not near as much. We had some shade. And I also adjusted what the GoPro was running, and that helped a little bit. But yeah, so we caught so many rock bass. Yeah. So the first fish that she landed on the river or on the creek was a rock bass also.
The first few I landed, and I was like, come on. Yeah. I need a smallmouth.
Like, I got one. And
12 Oaks Custom.
Yeah, check out 12oakscustomlures.com. And I'm telling you, you won't regret it if you check him out. He has tons and tons of options. Like, I mean, just so many different options for hard baits.
I highly recommend the Zombie Frog.
Yeah.
It's a solid print. I love that one. I was catching them this weekend on the Cosmic Frog, which is pretty in purple. So I really liked that one. But the Zombie Frog is a great one. I also have every other color in the universe. But I go to the Zombie Frog one a lot. But Chris is the guy who runs it, and he's an awesome guy. And anybody that we can get to go like his page and support him, more than happy to.
So I normally run internal batteries on mine because it's on my chest. And I kind of shade it as well. So I don't see the overheating issues very often. She runs an external battery and runs directly to it. And she hasn't really seen overheating issues up until this trip. And it was brutally hot, and we were just in the sun almost the whole time. So when we're in the sun, that really affects it.
Like I have a pole on the back, and so it's directly.
So there's no shade on hers versus mine. My body literally helps shade it, and that makes a big difference. Yeah. So 12 Oaks Custom Lures, we actually just placed a big order for the Minnesota trip.
I haven't even looked at the bill yet because I don't want.
So we placed the big order for the Minnesota trip because we both wanted some more ploppers.
I lost my crankbait.
I wanted a lot more crankbaits. I mean, getting more patterns in that little BFS crankbait is sweet. Yeah, she likes the Zombie Frog pattern, so I got the Zombie Frog in the crankbait as well. But got a few other patterns to throw, and then got a little BFS mystery box because, I mean, who knows what'll be in it? You know, I like seeing the new lures that he comes out with. I mean, he's always coming up with new little things, and the coolest thing about his is I reached out to him just shortly after I got into throwing his lures. I started throwing them last year, like early in the year, and I landed a PB on him, the first set of lures I got from him. And I reached out to him not long into it and asked him about painting a lure up custom. And he was like, "Oh yeah, it'll be a little bit before I can get back to you, but I can paint up something in that pattern." It was like the next day. He sent me a picture and he said, "What do you think of this?" And it was spot on with what I wanted. So he can paint you up custom colors right away. Now I know he's not always going to be the next day, but he's very quick about getting it. So yeah, it was cool. So I've got several lures painted in my custom color now, and it is chartreuse with black back. I have whopper ploppers that are painted with it. I've got multiple different crankbaits. I got a couple other topwater lures. I love that color, and chartreuse definitely gets bit by smallies. So it gets bit by largemouth too, but it gets bit by smallies. And I triggered a lot of bites on that color this weekend. The whopper plopper, I caught one fish on a whopper plopper, and the one that I caught one on was that chartreuse with a black back as well. Then I even threw a little glide bait. It was like that big, little bitty BFS glide bait, and just slowly worked it through there and had one hit it, and that was pretty cool. I honestly probably could have got a lot more bites on it, but after I caught the one fish, I threw it a couple more casts, and I was like, yeah, I'm going back to the crankbait. Because there is nothing like feeling that crankbait hit the rocks, and you can just feel it hit those rocks and start doing that side to side motion. And man, when a fish hits it on that little like skip off of a rock, they just hit so hard because they think that bait's about to get away real fast.
Sean said, you mentioned PB. Let me ask a question. Do you go through hundreds of dinks like 12 inches or smaller before finding a 16-inch plus fish, or does Ohio just like that bad? Ohio just likes that bad.
So it just depends. I mean, there are days that you just can't seem to find big fish. But I mean, look, man, I am throwing little stuff like that BFS crankbait. I wish I had one up here. That BFS crankbait is about probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches at most. It's a little bitty crankbait.
It's
probably, yeah, cranks are sold out. He is back in it. Don't place an order till after this, and I'll have Kayla send you something too, Teresa. Okay. But yeah, he gets backed up sometimes. So he actually does horse shows as well. And he's actually at a horse show this weekend. So he gets backed up sometime. But yeah, he'll crank out baits in big batches. So just don't expect them to be sold out of what you're wanting for very long. Yeah, so that little crankbait is so tiny, and I catch a ton of fish on that crankbait. Yeah, I know. You bought the frogs on the last
I see the frog worked, right? Right?
Travis, welcome. I appreciate you joining. So he said he's just hopping on real fast to say hi. So appreciate you joining real fast, man. Yeah, so these crankbaits are sweet. They seem to trigger big fish for me. I've caught multiple fish over 4 pounds on this little bitty crankbait. And like, if you see the hooks on this, you would be like, no way you're landing 4 pound plus bass. And like the hooks are tiny hooks. And
I didn't want to fish with them at first. I'm not gonna lie, because when I first started fishing, I was like, bigger baits mean bigger bass, because that's what your head thinks.
Yeah, and it does sometimes. There are times that you throw a bigger bait and it's going to trigger a bigger bite, but there are a lot of times where you throw that smaller bait and you sometimes have to weed through a lot of small fish, but sometimes a few casts in you catch a big one. Last year during the tournament, I'd had a pretty tough day. I wasn't getting a lot of bites. It was that heat of the summer, and had a few small fish on the board at that point, and then was casting that again right through the grass. Anytime that I can get it to where the grass isn't matted up and there's just some clumps of grass here and there, I'll run it right through the middle of those clumps of grass and have it like tick the edges of them. And again, that crankbait hitting something and kind of jerking away from it real fast triggers a bite. And I had one over 4 pounds hit that crankbait, and I got it in. It was, I think, 19.5 during the tournament, and that's a great fish.
Indian is not worse. Hush your mouth, Josh.
Yeah, that's man. I don't know what to say. A 5 pound winning limit being 13 pounds is
5 fish winning limit 13.
Yeah, that's what I meant. 5 fish winning limit being 13 pounds.
That's
I mean,
pretty low.
It's yeah. I know fishing is tough right now. You guys are probably in the post spawn phase, so fish aren't as heavy either, which makes a difference. But yeah, that stinks. We had a pretty good day yesterday, and I'm not going to get into all the details on that because we're still talking about
Sunday.
Oh, it was Saturday. Saturday morning. So we had a pretty good day. We spent probably just about 4 hours fishing, and I missed a couple fish. I landed 2, and both the ones I landed were over 2 pounds, and had a third one that I was boat flipping in, and I just kind of, when you boat flip a frog fish, you just got to get them right in, and I kind of beat around the bush about getting it in, and it flipped off the frog, so I didn't land it. She landed 4 fish. All hers were smaller, but she was throwing the wacky rig, and she lost a couple good ones. One looked pretty good. I went back and looked at the footage, and it looked like a pretty good fish. I actually heard it. I was on the other side of the island from her, and I heard a big splash, and I said, man, that was a splash right on the other side where Kayla is. I wonder if she caught a fish.
Yeah.
And then I heard her talking right away, and I was like, yep, I bet she did. No, it was because she had lost it.
When they were into aerial jumps yesterday, all of them were up, flying around, popping the hook out. Come on.
Josh said 11 pounds won the last tournament on Indiana's biggest lake. Okay, but Lake Monroe is tough. It is a tough lake. And I know I had some success last year in October on it. On one day. One day I had success. I caught that 5-pounder, and then I probably had, I would say I probably had over 11 pounds that day because I caught several decent fish. But yeah, that's a tough lake. It's a tough lake. Bluegrass, if Bluegrass had boat tournaments, you would see some giant bags out there, but maybe that's why you see some giant bags, because people aren't keeping their fish in the live well all day. I don't know. Could be part of it. But yeah, so on to back to the smallmouth fishing. So we got into a lot of fish. Like I said, we were catching rock bass after rock bass to start out. Chris from Mid Tennessee Angling, he was actually the first one to hook a Smallie. We were still probably less than an hour into the day, and he hooked his first Smallie, and I think he caught some rock bass too. But yeah,
I don't think he did. I think he caught all Smallies.
Yeah, so
because I asked him, I was like, hey.
He hooked his first Smallie not too far into the day, and then it was like just right after that we started catching them. Which again, Sam was with us the whole time, and we didn't really get any complaints from him at all. He was just kind of
floating around,
drifting by us, getting right in Kayla's spots. I don't know. He was trying to take
all the good fishing spots. He wasn't even fishing.
So, yeah, he was kind of just drifting around, having fun. We laughed so hard.
Wow.
Yeah, that's huge. 9-pounder. But yeah, we laughed so hard that day. I mean, it was just one thing after another would just get us going. And
yeah. And I mean, it was like really hot and really humid to start the day, like super hot, but we were still having a fun time. But then it was so stinking amazing because like all of a sudden it like just rained just a little bit, and then Sam, shut up. And then it like cooled off, the humidity dropped, and the rest of the day was beautiful.
It was much better after that. It was really a quick storm that hit us. But yeah, we were going along, and all of a sudden we had stopped at a spot, and we're on the bank, and I seen a flash of lightning, and I was like,
"Uh-oh." That's why we stopped.
I'm pretty positive I just seen lightning, and then nobody else said anything, and then all of a sudden I heard thunder, and I was like, okay, that was lightning I seen. And then after that, we seen a couple more flashes, but it
was really
it
crazy.
was
it just
not
blew in and blew out.
The lightning wasn't anywhere near us, honestly. It was mostly on like a little bit further from us. But then all of a sudden a rainstorm hit us, and we got no like horrible rain hit us, but it was a good little sprinkle. It rained a little bit harder at one point, but not very long at all. And it, like she said, it made a big difference because up to that point we were roasting in the sun. And then
I know, I'm reading those comments.
Then so Sam made a comment and said he was scouting out 200-year-old sycamores for Kayla to slay. And
I had a rough day with the trees, okay?
He said she shows no mercy. So Kayla, I think her score by the end of the day was something like 17 sycamores and like 7 or 8 ash trees.
I feel like we're over-exaggerating just a little bit here. But it was pretty bad. It was really bad. And like I said, my first time on moving water, casting, there's a lot lower trees. We don't have that as much on our lake and all that good stuff.
Oh, it happens. You're gonna get into trees. It was a creek. It was wide in some spots, but it was narrow in a lot of them, and you're just gonna cast in trees. And the good
spots to cast are up under those trees, and so I was trying.
The problem is you're gonna cast in trees, but you don't have to you don't have to cast in the very top.
I don't know how that
of
one
a
got all the way
200-year-old sycamore.
It was
when that tree
so
is like 100 feet in the air and you're casting up there in the very top limb of it,
I don't know how it got up there.
She would be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm stuck in this tree," and I would look up and I'm like, "I can't even see your lure from here."
That's right, Josh. He said Kayla caught those on purpose. She didn't want to kick your butt again.
Yeah.
As showing you mercy.
Sure, that's what happened. So
I also make some really good casts sometimes.
One of the first banks, we stopped at one bank and started fishing it. And it was maybe the first one that we fished from the bank. Kayla went off a little bit in front of me and she was fishing. Chris hooked up with a Smallie, and as he was fighting it in.
Yeah, I caught one too. Doubled up with him. It was really cool.
Yeah. So, and that was your first Smallie that you landed.
Yeah.
So she had actually.
I did hook one before that. I forgot about that.
You hooked two. I was going through, and she hooked two Smallies and got them all the way to the kayak.
That's right.
And as she would get them to the kayak to try to get them in, they would hop right off the hook. Throwing treble hook baits, sometimes you just have that happen. It's just going to happen here and there. But yeah, so she had two get off, and at one point, even in the video, she was like, "I don't know if I'm ever going to land a Smallie," because she just kept landing rock bass, you know.
Another rock bass.
Yeah.
Which they're actually really fun fish to catch. They're actually really pretty, but man.
So like, I swear rock bass are pretty much the same as fishing and catching warmouth. They're that same build of fish, and they are so aggressive. They hit so hard, and then once you get them hooked, you're just like, okay, there's not a lot of fight left in them. But man, they hit like a big fish, you know.
The water's super clear. I watched that one like come up, and man, it was going so fast. Looked like I was pretty cool to see them hop out. That one missed, but it was neat because I could literally watch it like hop out, and it was just going like 60 miles an hour. Not really, but that's what it looked like.
Yeah, so she hooked up to a couple, but didn't land them. But we got to that one bank fishing spot and you know, parked the kayak, and she hooked into one and landed it. So that was her first Smallie, and we got a picture of her and Chris holding their Smallies together. His was a little bit bigger, but
I know. I let it slide since he took us out and was putting up with us. So.
But she landed one, and that was really awesome. And then then we started making our way back downriver, and she started landing more. We all started catching more fish, so it was a lot.
There was just so many fish. It was like constantly.
We got into some rapids here and there, and they were fun. That was like Sam's big goal. You know, Sam was like, he hasn't seen rapids in the kayak yet, so he got to fish, or he got to paddle through some rapids. And like, again, it was nothing serious, but we got into some that were fun. We got into a couple that before we got in them, we were like, don't know.
Some of them looked really intimidating to me. And then I would go through it and I'd be like, oh.
Yeah, they're not near as bad.
One felt really cool. Like, I felt like I totally conquered it, and I felt like it looked cool and everything. And then we watched it on the video, and I was like, that was actually pretty lame. Don't put that on there.
So here's one for you. So we're going along. I know Chris is picking on Kayla, but we're going along and we're following Chris, and we get to a spot where the river branches off, kind of wise off, or the creek, but it branches off, kind of wise off two different directions, and one direction looked like it may have been one direction looked like it may have been a little worse than the other. And he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go first." Again, you know, he's being our guide for the trip. He's being our guide for the trip. So he's like, "I'm gonna go first." And Sam's like kind of behind him, but kind of trying to chill out right before this little rapid. And Chris goes in there, and he's not in there very long at all. And all of a sudden, I can hear him yelling, "Not good, not good!" And then Sam gets sucked in.
He gets sucked in.
So Sam gets sucked in, and he goes into the same rapid and comes around the corner, and it curves. Well, when it curves, they came around the corner to a tree that was down across the creek, and Chris, like, his kayak crashed into it, and he had his
we can laugh pedal about drive. It because everybody's safe.
Yeah, everyone's safe. The pedal drive got wedged under the tree in the water, and it's a pretty swift current at that point. So Sam's coming around the corner and he's like heading right for Chris, who's already crashed into there. like I said, me and Kayla are coming up on it, and I'm like, if we have to, we can just carry the kayaks over this. We'll just carry him over it. And all of a sudden I hear him say, not good, not good. And so I was like, yep, we're carrying the kayaks. Well, then at this point, Kayla starts getting sucked down the other side, which ended up not being bad at all. And we all ended up going down that way because Sam actually helped Chris out of there. But yeah, Sam got over there and Chris was like, why did you bring your kayak over here? I'm screaming not good. And Sam's like, the current sucked me in.
He ended up dropping one of his tackle boxes.
Yeah.
But luckily was able to recover it, thankfully.
Yes, was able to recover it.
But that was a very funny moment. It wasn't, but it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those that you laugh about later. You don't laugh about when it's happening, but after everyone's good and we recovered the gear, it's funny.
Yep.
So and again, we laughed so much on this trip, and half of it was at each other's expense. You know, we were all always laughing at each other.
They were always laughing at me.
I cast into some trees too, and Kayla would make sure to highlight that anytime that I hit one. If I was in a tree, she would be like, are you in a tree? So it happened. I think in the video I even put it on there where she was like, are you in a tree? And then like the very not the next cast, but the next section of the video that I put in there was her in a tree. And I was like, did she say something about me casting in a tree? And I was actually having to stand up and get her lure out of the tree. So
didn't want to lose those lures.
it was so much fun. We laughed so much. Oh yeah. Chris actually lost his tourney tag for KBF. So he was actually fishing a tournament. And when he went to measure his first fish, he could not find his tourney tag.
Oh, he found it that time, but he didn't lose it after that.
So yeah, so we got into a lot of fish all of a sudden. We got to another spot that we stopped and we were fishing, and I'd caught a couple rock bass and then hooked into something else, and I thought it was rock bass. Got it almost all the way in, and I was like, oh, this is a new species for me. So this was species number 5. Unfortunately, it shook the hook as I was bringing it up out of the water to me, but it was a orange spotted sunfish.
Yeah, so I could see it when he brought it in. It was beautiful.
If you don't know what those fish look like, check them out. They literally look like a tropical fish. So it was like really cool. So I'm like, it was probably about like that, 6-7 inches long, but it was so cool catching that. And it again hit a crankbait. So I was bringing that in, and I was like, oh, I got a new species. And then it got off the hook. So it kind of broke my heart a little bit because that was really cool.
Fish.
I am a huge fan of John Dalton and his Creek Fishing Adventures channel. And I've seen him catch those fish. So I was like, oh, when I seen it, I was like, that has got to be an orange spotted sunfish. And I even looked over at Chris and I was like, hey, you guys have those in this water? And he said, oh yeah, they're in there. So that was really cool. I would have loved to have landed that and got some pictures with it because, again, this kind of felt like a special trip, and we even talked about it multiple times. This was our little creek fishing adventure, and it was really cool hooking in that fish. But then we walked a little bit further on that same bank, and there was a good rock wall, and it had a little cutout in it, and I cast right up in there and pulled out a decent Smallie, and I was actually going to measure it because going into this trip, my personal best Smallie was like 14 inches. I need to go back and look because I know I've got it saved, but I think it would have been around 14 inches, and this fish would have possibly passed my PB. And I was like, that was one of my goals. It would have been cool to catch a new PB. So I was carrying it back to the kayak to put on the measuring board and get a picture with it. And as I got to the kayak, it flipped out of my hand and flipped right back in the water and took off. So I didn't get a measurement on that. And I was like, oh, I missed out measuring a fish that would have possibly, been my new personal best. Then Kayla in that same spot ended up landing like 2 or 3 fish out of there. So, and those are on the video. You'll see me because I was recording from my chest camera. She didn't bring her camera over there with her when she would bank fish. So you'll see like she had 2 back-to-back fish. And we ended up landing probably 7 or 8 fish out of that one spot between me, Kayla, and Chris. Then we just got back in the kayaks and kind of moved on, started fishing again. And the creek got muddier. So like Kayla said, it was pretty clear right at the beginning. I know Chris said it wasn't as clear as it normally is, but it was pretty clear right at the beginning.
It's clear for us.
Yeah, compared to what we're used to. So the creek got a little bit muddier as we went down, and we got in some spot that was flowing a little bit better and definitely was a lot muddier. The bite wasn't as good at that point, of course, you know. It was still like we were still catching some fish, just not as much. They weren't as frequent. But we got into another spot that had a rock wall. It wasn't as tall of a rock wall, but had a rock wall, and I could tell that there was some chunkier rock down in the water a little ways, and I was kind of moving fairly close to that bank and had some shade on that bank, and I was casting and running the crankbait up against that rock. And while I was running it, I felt a hard thump, and I was like, okay, this is a good fish. And it was pulling drag, and I could feel it really, really peeling drag and taking off. Again, it's pulling against the current, or it was pulling with the current. So smallmouth and current have a ton of fight. But I was like, man, this feels like a good one. It feels like a good one. I was like, I don't know if it is, but it feels like a good one. Again, if you guys watch the video, this is in there. And when I get it closer, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a good fish. So I scooped it up with the net, and wasn't a giant, but it was a good solid fish, and it was 16.5. So I passed up my PB. I've got a new one at 16.5 inches. I know we're going to Minnesota in just a week now. We're a week away from Minnesota. Woo. And I should definitely be able to pass up that. But I caught a new PB in Tennessee, and it was a fun fight. It was a great fish, beautiful fish. I love the color patterns on smallmouth. We got some that had some pretty little color patterns. You know, I like the ones that almost look like they're camoed. They're kind of like patchy. And got a few of those. But yeah, it was pretty cool landing that. It fought so hard. I didn't weigh it. I thought about it afterwards. I was like, I probably should have weighed that just to have the weight on it. But like I said, I'm going to guess it 1.5 pounds. Wouldn't be passing 2 pounds, you know, just a solid smallmouth. So it fought hard. It was a lot of fun catching that one. Got a couple pictures holding it. Kayla took one of me and everything. Yeah, that was fun. Got anything more on that, like leading up into that? So we continued down the creek, went close to the end, and had an otter, which we saw eagle.
Sam creeped it out.
Yeah, we saw an eagle on that as well. Yeah, had an otter, and Sam was talking creepy to the otter.
Would have been nice to it. Probably would have came by us.
It was making its way across the creek, and Sam was trying to call it to him, and it was like,
in his creepy like man in a van voice.
Yeah. So it turned and started heading the other way, and Kayla told him it was because he was being creepy, so he talked deep to it, which I don't think helped.
No,
it kept on going. It was out of there. So yeah, it headed into its little home, but we were pretty close to that, and that was cool seeing the otter. You know, we don't see them around here very often. Every once in a while, like I saw some actually when me and Jeremy fished West Boggs last year. We saw like a little family of otters, and that was really cool, but we don't see them very often, just every once in a while. Sam said it instantly went underwater on the deep voice.
And it like talked to it normal, yeah. Not more creepy.
So that wasn't very far from being out of the water.
Done at that point.
So we kind of got along and hit a spot where we knew we were about to be getting out. They said that the takeout was right in front of us. Chris had told us it was right in front of us. Me and Sam were a little bit ahead of Chris and Kayla, and me and Sam were looking, and there was 2 different takeouts, one on one side of the creek, one on the other side of the creek. And we're looking at them, and one is like straight up and down mudslide, and the other one is nicely done in rock, and it's a pretty little trail going up the hill. And Sam's looking at the one, and then he's looking at the other, and he said, "Which one are we taking out at?" He's like, "Looking at this side right here looks really nice, and looking at that side, it looks like it's going to be tough." He's like, "We're probably going to be on the tough side, aren't we?" I was like, "Man, when I dropped the truck off, I couldn't see it, but I'm going to take a guess that we're on the tough side." So we went ahead and started pulling up to the tough side because we already knew that's what it was going to be, and it was. So getting the kayaks out of that, it was brutal. It was brutal getting them out of there. We had to kind of get one person out at a time and then start carrying the kayaks up. And kayaks are so much heavier at the end of the day going up a mudslide of a hill. It was, yeah, Sam said, "I shouldn't have asked. I already know."
Yes. No, I'll be out in a minute. Thank you.
All right. There's the kids. Can you come here? I'm sure that he's probably wanting food. Yeah. And I told him beforehand if he wanted food, he can make himself a sandwich. But yeah, so oh yeah, we did have to tell Sam there was another rapid right before the takeout.
Oh, that's right.
And we had to tell him, "Do not go to the rapids. We need to get out right here." And I think he heard right at first, "Go to the rapids," because he started heading that way and we had to get him back. So yeah, we got the kayaks unloaded, got him up, and I took Chris back to his vehicle and then followed him back. And on our way back, so on the way to the vehicle, I somehow hit a bat. Like, I don't know. I've lived around bats my whole life, and I've never in my life had one fly out in front of my vehicle. But I had this bat literally fly in front of my vehicle, and I hit it. Don't even know how, but hit this bat. And then we start heading back, and I'm following Chris, and all of a sudden he has to come to a complete stop because a deer and a house cat are in the middle of the road. Like, what in the world are a deer and a house cat doing together in the middle of the road? I don't know. But when they left out of the road, they both left the same way to go into the woods, the same direction. I think that deer and cat are together. I don't know if they're planning something, but yeah, Chris comes to a stop, and he's just like waiting on this deer and cat to get out of the roadway, and they make their way out of there and move on. But it was hilarious. So we come back, we get done loading the kayaks up, and it's probably about 9:30, and so it's dark outside.
I don't know for sure, but it was late. Yeah,
we were starving. They had made barbecue chicken back at the campsite.
We missed
and
it.
Had barbecue chicken for us, and we were like, okay, we are probably not gonna eat that right now. We're gonna go get some food somewhere because we wanted to be in air conditioning. Because
and we needed to get a fan.
Yeah, and we needed to get a fan. So we were like, we need air conditioning and we need a fan. So we were like, what's good to eat around here? And we were just close to a Waffle House. And guess what's open late at night? Waffle House. So we went to Waffle House, at like 10 o'clock at night. We're in Waffle House eating that. Yeah, Chris said 24/7. So we're eating Waffle House, finish our meal, and then we head to Walmart and pick up a fan and head out of there, get back to the campsite. We kind of set up camp for the night and have a fan blowing on us again, finally.
Yeah, got a little bit of sleep.
And I still felt like I was suffocating. Kayla actually switched me spots in the tent, and it was somewhat better sleep that night, but we were also completely exhausted.
So tired.
I mean, we had done 7 miles the day before, 10 miles that day. Again, not really hard floats or anything, but that at the end of the day, loading up the kayaks and everything was, it was a lot of work.
You could tell anybody after that. But
yeah.
It was so worth it.
Oh, so worth it. It was an epic trip.
Also, just want to shout out Chris. We really appreciate you.
Yes.
We had so much fun. We can't wait to hang out again. Can't wait. We'll have to.
Yeah.
I'll talk him back into loading the kayaks in and out. By the time it's time to go again. Don't worry.
Well, you know how it is. When you're done, you're like, I am never going to do that again. But if it came time, we would probably do
absolutely.
it again.
I would even just go wade that with you, to be honest.
Oh, it was such a beautiful place. To be out there. It was such a beautiful place.
That's why I think. We yearly flip.
We caught a ton of fish. It was so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't keep count of the amount of fish we caught. No. I know it was a lot, and I know it could have been better. I honestly don't know.
Let's go.
Sam said he would do it this weekend if he could. So I don't know what time we would have gotten off the water if it wouldn't have been muddy and kind of chocolate milk water there at the second half of it.
That's true, because we probably would have.
Because we would have probably started getting into fish again, and we would have probably had a really hard time to pull the kayaks out and not keep on fishing. So it was probably the best thing for us that it was muddy there at the end, because it pushed us off the water a little bit quicker. And again, we were loaded up in the pitch black. So it was such a fun trip. I would love to go back there, and we will definitely be going back there.
Definitely.
And, hitting up some more bodies of water as well.
I feel like it really helped me know more of what to well, obviously I know it's going to be different, but it definitely helped prepare me more for our Minnesota trip. So I was thankful for that. Just a little bit of prep.
Learning to fish a little bit in moving water makes a world of difference, because it was the same way with me last year when I did Current River, which I mean, I grew up, we fished rivers a lot. Me and Dad did. Yeah, Sam said with class 5
I'm not
rapids.
going down classified rapids.
So me and Dad fished rivers a lot, and I've fished rivers from a boat. I've fished them from the bank, but I had never fished them in a kayak. So it was a new experience for me to kayak down Current River last year and be fishing. And the day one of the trip, I think I caught one fish and was more just kind of learning how to fish in moving water, especially that river was way, way high when I was there. And you would cast and reeling in a crankbait, and I reel them in fairly quick. You would cast ahead of you, and by the time you got the crankbait in, it was all the way behind you. So it was a very, very odd time to fish. But I learned a little bit about it, and then day 2, I think I caught like 13 fish or something like that. So I caught a lot more. So definitely learned a little bit that first time I fished a river, and I think it's the same with Kayla. She's got the fish moving water now, so got us built up a little bit.
Yeah, I've been watching some videos too, because when we were going down, I'd be like, oh man, it looks like a beautiful spot. Yeah. Chris is like, nope.
Yeah.
And I was like, fine.
Yeah, so you get to some spots that are like dead calm water, and what it is it's a lot deeper, and those are great for the winter time. So they call them wintering holes. So fish will kind of stack up in those deeper spots that aren't as fast flowing in the wintertime, but in the summer they're moving through a lot more of that faster moving water, setting up on edges of that current, catching bait fish. So we definitely want to just be prepared for that when we go to Minnesota. Yep. And
not gonna lie,
we also have some people that are going to kind of guide us up there.
We do.
We've got Bill and his wife are going to be up there. They actually fished it. I'm going to message him after this video and kind of ask how it went, because they were supposed to fish part of the area that we're going to be fishing. They were going to do some pre-fishing today. So they live a little bit closer to that area.
Scrolling back here because Scott said something about camping in Vermont. Is he from Vermont? Is that where he's from?
I'm going to assume so. His name is Scott Vermonter.
Is it? I thought that was just his last name.
So
that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty. That would be, yeah, I'm sure it's.
We have so many invites.
Yes,
it's not even funny, and it's not fair because we want to go to every single one of them.
Guys, share. We
can start making money.
Make YouTube take off for me and make it to where it starts paying me, and I will make more and more trips. Oh, yeah. We're already going to make more trips next year than what we did this year, but need YouTube to really start paying out for that. So
we're just
YouTube
so stinking close.
And Allure. So
hey, Granville. Thanks for jumping on.
Kayla's clothing business that she's working on. share that. If you guys know women that are into fishing and that would like some fishing clothing, share the Allure fishing clothing coming. I don't remember exactly how it is. You can say it.
So supportive. Lure Fishing Apparel.
There you go. Allure Fishing Apparel. So share that on Facebook and try to, get some more people enticed into that. She's had some good success with it starting out. She's had a few pretty big names in the social media game that have already bought and shared theirs and have helped make some sales as well. So sharing makes a world of difference. Help her get some more shares, get some more sales in, and it's going to help out the channel as well because it's going to help us do more fishing related things. We would love to set up at some fishing shows next year, and we'll get to meet more of you guys through that too. We've had an awesome time. Everyone that we've got to meet through the YouTube, through having YouTube channel, have been awesome. I've really enjoyed it, and we would love to meet more of you guys. And us setting up at fishing shows, maybe in your area, maybe the way that we do it. And so the more we grow, the more that we're going to get a chance to see you guys, the more we're going to get a chance to fish with you guys.
Because one of our biggest reasons,
awesome fishing with Chris. We had such a fun time.
One of our biggest things with this channel is definitely building a community, and we're doing a pretty good job at that. And it just sucks because we'd love to be everywhere. We would love to be.
Our friend Bill that lives in Minnesota, will be fishing with him next week, and that's going to be fun. He's got a YouTube channel as well. He's going to be hopefully recording his trip, so we'll kind of get a little collab in there as well.
Chris will start putting out some videos.
Yep, exactly.
Just saying.
So yeah, it's been a good time, guys. Really appreciate everyone who watches. All the comments, they really help out. If you have not watched today's video that I posted yet, which is of the trip that we just talked about, go on, check it out, give it some comment. Let us know what you liked. Let us know what we can improve on, because that's a big thing. I'm trying to just continue improving on everything I do. I'm working on my edits, trying to make them better, trying to make them just, again, make little improvements. So appreciate you guys watching. I don't think I have anything else.
I thought we would talk about getting ready for the Kayak Adventure Series.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Which we have a kid screaming at the door right now. Yes, Isaac. Okay, remember what Mommy said we were doing?
All right, so yeah, I'm good with talking about that. And we will probably do a live when we get back from that as well. Our kids are actually going to be at church camp, so we will have mostly,
all but the youngest.
All but the youngest, who's the one yelling at us right now. But we will have some kid free time, so we'll probably set up a live for when we get back from that. Really excited about that trip too. It should be a really epic trip. Chris said he's working himself up to do it again.
It's what you do. You film it, make a few quick edits, and you post it. Just don't even look, and then you just close your eyes. Don't read the comments.
Yeah, and like Chris said, we have friends. So we both talk to some of the same people. We both use 12 Oaks custom lures, and we talk to some of the same people and just happened to kind of meet up through YouTube. When little did I know, when I met John from Creek Fishing Adventures at the East Tennessee Fishing Show, Chris was right behind me. So he was right there. And, if we'd have struck up a conversation then, who knows? The trip may have happened even earlier than what it did. But
this is so funny.
But it was really cool. Had such a fun time. But yeah, so Minnesota. We are going up to St. Cloud, Minnesota. And we are going to be fishing a few different bodies of water. The main focus for us is fishing the upper Mississippi River. But there's a chance of fishing. There's a lake up there. I can't even remember what the lake's called. I think it's like Rock Lake that we may see. And then Bill is really wanting to put us on some pike. And he's got a little river, which is, I think, still inbounds for Kayak Adventure Series. So we may go fish it. And it's known for pike. And he sent some pictures of some pretty good pike that he's caught. she is super nervous about it.
I don't
but
like catching
honestly, there's a chance of us catching pike on the Mississippi River as well. So it's definitely good to be prepared for that. So it wouldn't hurt for us to catch our first one before the tournament, because catching one during the tournament, you're probably going to be a whole lot more nervous. And, dealing with getting them unhooked. And it's a fish that doesn't stop moving. So, not chancing getting a crankbait in you during that time or anything like that. I would love to. Yeah, I've not caught a pike either. I've hooked multiple muskie out at our local lakes, but haven't landed one of them. I know they're a very similar fish, so catching pike will be kind of cool. It'll be neat. So I would love to catch some pike. So hopefully that happens.
Be driving next Monday we get to drive, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday we hope to be fishing a little bit here and there.
We've got like 10 hours of driving ahead of us on Monday, so it'll be all day driving. Looking forward to it though. Like I said, we're gonna get to meet Bill and his wife. It's gonna be a lot of fun. They're big into fishing as well. They love kayak fishing, and it's gonna be fun meeting another couple that fishes together. It's exciting. So yeah, I know Bill's for sure going to fish the tournament. He's signed up for it. I don't know if his wife's going to sign up. We are going to sign up as a team also. So what are you thinking on names?
I don't know.
I know Mitchell said Topwater Terrors, which I kind of like that.
I like funny names. I don't know. I like making people laugh.
I mean, like I said, I'm good with Team SWIO.
Oh, don't tell me that. He said, Trevor said that they really hate buzzbaits. They destroyed two of my favorites. I just got some brand new buzzbaits on the way because on the trip, they were taking the trailer back to the drop off to come back before we launched. And I was like, I'm going to try to catch fish before they even get here. So I go and catch, and like literally first cast my buzzbait, and all of a sudden you know that sound when your line breaks when you cast and it like just flies off and there's a current right there. Miles. And I was like, oh no. So as soon as I got home, I was like, I need a buzzbait. So they have some on the way.
Kayla bought that buzzbait at the East Tennessee Fishing Show from Line Stretchers, and
I love it.
It is her favorite buzzbait. I've still not thrown one of theirs yet, so
has a good sound.
We ordered a few extras, and she didn't have to tune it or anything. It sounded good out of the package. So
I've landed so many fish on it. The only fish that has hit it that I haven't landed, I'm pretty sure missed it, because when I went to set the hook, it just flew right back. But
so I didn't mention this earlier, but I see that Granville just said, where did I get my sun shirt? So I had to, while we were talking Tennessee and Smallies, I had to wear my Achigan shirt. Yeah. So this is from Achigan, Achigan. You can check them out. I think it's achiganbrand.com. But if you look up Achigan brand on Google, it'll take you to it. But I'm pretty positive it's just achiganbrand.com. But they are a smallmouth bass fishing apparel brand, and they're actually out of Indiana. They're from the Indianapolis area.
They're actually sponsoring the
Minnesota they're one of the sponsors for the Kayak Adventure Series in Minnesota. It's a trip that they make every year. If you guys have ever heard of the Smallie Talk podcast, they're the guys. Well, one of the owners of Achigan is one of the guys that's on Smallie Talk podcast. Yep. And they literally have a brand based around smallmouth bass. They have some really cool stuff. They have some of the coolest stickers.
I don't know if they do all their artwork on their own, but they do. I know they do a lot of it on their own, and they're super talented. So
yeah, very, very cool. I mean, they got a guy who just hand draws everything up and sends it to the guy and says, "What do you think about this for a shirt?" And they make a shirt out of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. He makes the hat that says Smallie. Mm-hmm. Yep. Smallies. Yeah. So check out Achigan brand. They are really awesome. Great guys. We talked to them a lot at the East Tennessee Fishing Show. We probably spent over an hour just talking to them. They're a lot of fun. So we had a good time talking to them, talking smallmouth bass, because she had not caught one up until this trip. So we'll get to see those, or at least some of the guys from that group will be there at the Kayak Adventure Series. So looking forward to meeting up with them again. And yeah, really cannot wait for this tournament. It's gonna be
so we're gonna do
an epic trip.
Individual division, obviously. We're gonna sign up as a team also, which would be our
I just
top
gotta
10
talk
fish,
her into a name that's like not weird. I don't know. She wants to do like the real matrimony. I would be okay with that one. But some of the others are just kind of like, I don't know.
I was trying to make.
I don't have a problem being silly. Like, I'm not saying I have a problem being silly. I'm okay with silly. But
I don't know. I just think it'd be fun to be a funny team name. They're all funny already, so I just like a funny one. But whatever. Maybe we shouldn't be a team because we're probably gonna fight the whole time if we're a team.
No.
But anyways, so we'll do the team division also, and then also he's gonna do
I'm gonna for sure do the micro bag. I had so much fun fishing that in Missouri. Like, I hit a point where honestly I probably just knew that I wasn't catching big fish that day. The river we were fishing just wasn't the right spot to get into big ones. My buddy did catch one over 16 there, but that was the biggest one we seen that whole weekend. And we just weren't on the right spot. The water was moving fast. It was honestly, it was high enough we weren't supposed to be on it on day one. We found out at the end of the day. But yeah, it was moving fast the whole time we were there, and it was just a dink fest. I caught a lot of small fish, and at one point I think I just pretty much decided I was fishing for small fish. And I got into a spot and I was catching fish after fish after fish after fish, and it was a blast. And then I would catch a 9-incher, and I would measure that, and it would be one of my 5 fish. And then the next thing you know, I caught an 8-incher, and I'm like, oh, I got to cull out one of my 9s. And then I ended up, I think my smallest fish was like 6 1/4, and that was like super exciting catching that little fish.
Yeah.
And honestly, it was a $400 payout, and I missed it by 2 inches. So had I got two fish that would have culled out an inch each, I would have got a $400 payout for that, catching 5 small fish, So that was a ton of fun. And I will definitely, anytime I sign up for a KS event, I am going to sign up for the micro bag because it's fun. Throwing BFS gear, you will catch small fish sometimes. Again, you'll catch some big ones, but you'll catch small fish sometimes. So, somebody is going to win that throwing ultralight stuff, throwing some little, fly, and they might throw some flies, something like that. I've got a shot at it throwing my little BFS crankbaits, throwing small Ned rigs. Like, I'm talking like a 1/10 of an ounce, a 1/16 of an ounce, small Ned rigs that have like the little Z-Man. They're like larvas. They're like this big. Throwing that kind of stuff is what will end up winning the micro bag. So I would love to do that. And I mean, it may not be $400. There may be 5 people that sign up, and it's $25 each, and 100% of the money you put into it pays out. So, if 5 people sign up, somebody's getting $125. But
he has a lot of fun doing that one. I don't really like messing with the small ones. They always offend me. I hate it. Hate messing with them. But so I don't feel like I'm going to sign up for that one. But not going to lie, there is, and here's the thing. I'll get to that in a minute. Okay. But there's Top Woman Angler, and I'm not going to lie, there's a part of me that just really wants to like just slide in there. Although I have very little chance because I've only fished for smallies one other time. It would be pretty cool. And also there's a good chance Christina Fisher is going to sign up last minute, and then there's no chance. But it would be really cool. Just saying.
The coolest thing about Kayak Adventure Series, if you've not looked into it, it's your 5 biggest fish the entire tournament. So you fish 2 days. Day 1 is like a 4-hour trip. You've got like 4 hours to catch fish. Day 2, I think in Minnesota, maybe 9 hours, but it's either 8 or 9 hours that you can fish. And so of the 12, 13 hours that you get to fish, it's your 5 biggest fish. So let's say we go out Friday and we catch 5 fish, but they're all small. Then our goal on Saturday is not to even worry about small fish. You just worry about culling out. So, maybe we throw big glide baits half the day and work on trying to cull out big fish, cull out those small ones and just try to hammer big fish. And I will definitely be bringing glide baits and probably throwing them some. As much as I love throwing BFS gear, I want to catch a fish on a big glide bait. And I'll throw my little glide baits some as well, but I would love to catch fish on a big glide bait because that's something I have not done yet. And I've thrown them a little bit, but not had success with them. I think it'd be fun too.
I don't know if I have the right stuff for that, but I definitely have the baits I know that I really want to use in my head. I don't know if it will pay off, and I'm not going to sit here and say all that out loud because, things change and all that good stuff. I'm not supposed to share tournament strategies, but I have ideas. I watched Chris a lot, watching Chase, watching what they were catching them on, taking notes in my head. So I have lists in my head, and I'm hopeful. So wish us luck.
Yeah.
Follow along. We'll try to post a lot. Try to post some stories. Try to do that. I know you can watch us live and stuff too, like on the scoreboard. So follow along. Of course, we'll have videos when we come back, but it's going to be fun, and I can't wait to share that with you guys. So
I see Trevor said that their state championship down in Texas is 7.5 hours away from where he lives. So it just kind of shows you the size of Texas. Ours is a couple hours away, and sadly, I'm not going to get to fish it this year. I had a blast fishing it last year, caught my PB at that lake. Had so much fun fishing that tournament. It was a great time they had a dinner. They had the awards ceremony, talked to a lot of people, met a lot of people that fish in our club that I hadn't met yet. I won't be able to fish it this year because it's going to be during Cover Bridge Festival. So
just almost impossible. They moved it. Normally it's the week before, and I'd made plans so that we could accommodate that. And unfortunately, it's just not going to happen.
Yep. Hate it, but it is what it is. But yeah, so super excited. Yeah. Fluke. I've got flukes. I've got Helgramites. I've got a little bit of everything to throw just in case. Hopefully we get a couple days pre-fishing in.
As long
as everything works out as planned, we will have a few days pre-fishing in and hopefully have an idea of what they're going to be biting.
Yep. Wish us all the luck. Seriously, I'm excited, nervous. I don't know. It's fun. I like doing this competitive stuff. I'm not gonna lie.
It's been a blast. I've really enjoyed tournaments. I'm nowhere near, a hammer on the water. I'm not one of those guys that's going out and putting up 90 inches every time. But I have so much fun doing it, and I've learned a lot about fishing through tournament fishing.
It's funny because I was watching one of the videos to get prepared, and I was like, oh, that was a really informative video. It's like, that really helped me out. And I commented on it. I was like, this is so cool. I'm going to be fishing the upper Mississippi. And then I'm scrolling through the tournament, and I was like, oh, he is too.
Yeah.
It was so funny. So there's going to be some really cool people there. Can't wait to meet them. I can't wait to share our journey. So
yeah.
Share this. Watch the video that we did today, or he posted today on our trip, and watch the creek. So
yeah.
You'll enjoy it. It was fun.
Don't forget, anybody who's stuck around to the end, if you have not followed the rules, make sure that you followed the rules of my giveaway. Get in, watch the giveaway video, follow the rules, because I've gained 50 subs since that happened. So I'm 240 away or something or 260 away, something like that, right now from hitting the sub goal of 2,000. So get on, follow the rules, and make sure, like I said, you watch the video fully, go through, comment on the videos that you're supposed to, and you got a chance at winning some pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah, I'll get an updated picture of the prizes.
We're gonna put up an updated picture of the prizes. I've talked about it multiple times, but Chris from 12 Oaks really outdid himself. He painted up a ton of crankbaits and different lures for us.
Mm-hmm.
You got my hat. You got some Dadfish tackle. We've got that reel that's over $100 reel. So definitely, if you're watching to this long, make sure that you go through and watch that video. I think that's all I have.
Yep.
thank you guys very much for watching. We really appreciate you. Wish us luck.